In Deuteronomy chapter 11, we read, "The Lord will give the rain for your land in its season, the early rain and the later rain, that you may gather in your grain and your wine and your oil." Let's examine how Israel's yearly rhythms revolved around producing those three stable foods that we discussed in the last episode. The early rains refer to those that would come in late fall, October or November. With their arrival, farmers could begin plowing and sowing grain. The main rains would follow during the coldest months, late November through February. During that period, the workers would spend time pruning the grapevines. In good years, there would be some additional or later rain during the spring, especially in March. This would speed the ripening of the grain. The first fruits of the grain could then be brought as offerings to the Lord on the last day of the feast or festival of unleavened bread. April and May would be spent bringing in the main barley and wheat harvest. The completion of that work was celebrated at the Feast of Weeks, called Pentecost by New Testament times, around the end of May or June. Then came the hot summer months of June, July, and August. During this period, there was little, if any, rain, but there could still be heavy dew that would keep the grapes and olives growing and ripening. By early September, both were ready for harvest, and this was celebrated at the festival or Feast of Tabernacles or Ingathering. This was the normal cycle of agriculture that was repeated year after year, century after century. But just as today, often there were periods of drought, and that had to be endured. Yet afterwards, the Lord's promised blessing of rain would come once again. The prophet Joel speaks of this blessing in chapter 2 when he quotes the Lord as saying to his people, "I am sending you grain, new wine, and olive oil, enough to satisfy you fully. Never again will I make you an object of scorn to the nations." And a few verses later he explains, "Be glad, people of Zion, rejoice in the Lord your God. For he has given you the early rains because he's faithful. He sends you abundant showers, both early and later rains as before." You can learn much more about Bible life in our publication, Bible Background, History, Geography, and Daily Life in Bible Times, which is published by ALS and available on our website.